What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your creative unconscious reading for June 18th. We're gonna dive right in here and see where things take us. But before that, when I was meditating on the energy and thinking about it, I don't know why truths have been coming up. It could be this like heaps of the Sagittarian energy with the full moon. Let me just move this down here so you can see that when everything gets spread out. But yeah, so it could be something to do with that, but themes like that were coming up, and just conversations that I was having with people as well beyond what was showing up in readings this week too. Yeah, so I was thinking about that, and then I found there was a book that came. So I am a big fan of public libraries because I feel like they are the champion of those. It's just champions of community, and they're one of my favorite places, and one of the last places that are free to just be. Right? You're not brought under suspicion for existing there, and you don't have to do anything. You can just go and be. I have a library book that I started this week. This one here, The Secret Life of Secrets, and I'm quite enchanted with the ways that this is kind of a call to connect with others more. It's actually quite a good book so far. But where truth meets with community and connection, it talks about how a lot of the things that we keep as secrets are not our own, but other people's, and the ways that that can disconnect us, not just from one another, but just from ourselves too, and how isolating that can feel. And I can attest to that too, where, for a long time, I felt like what happened to me when I worked in sales in that corporate job in 2015 and the resultant effects of it in 2016 as I left that summer. I found that it was an isolating truth, right? It was an isolating truth, not because you need someone to validate and share in it with you, but it's, right now I look back at that time and I think, wow, I just, people seeing not pain or trauma, but seeing the truth of something and just validating what happened to folks, right? That's just validating what is. In a healing way as opposed to an attention seeking or people pleasing way is really profound. And just the ways that truths connect us and allow us to see one another, and not shaping our reality or worlds based on beliefs alone, but shaping our world and reality based on what we believe to be true about ourselves, because of the way that hits with or touches on or touches upon or lays across programming and templating that already exists and either confirms or denies it, right? So that's a big thing too. So we're going to dive in here and see what the cards have to say, but that's something I've been picking up on a lot. Just recently I read that even, in terms of like things that aren't connected to individual, stressors or traumas or anything like that, NASA launched on June 9th or something like that. Like they're actually studying UFOs, like meaningfully, not just in a, defense kind of way. Although Neil deGrasse Tyson did write a very compelling book about how the military industrial complex is engaging in, how they're already, they're so far into that it may not be considered contact events, and it's in a more antagonistic way that it's being done. 3333. That's the oversimplification of the book, but I highly recommend it. It's about the militarization of the UFO contact stuff. So like the secrets, and then Canada, where I live, they put forward documents that said that they have UFO data that that there's no explanation for, and that they're real. Like that was in the letter from, I think it was the Ministry of Defense or something like that. Not to be all conspiratorial, but these are actual things that are happening in conjunction with NASA. So, I think it's like this, and it's not so much a secret, but it's like what has been debunked as truth before is now emerging as truth. So it's sort of this usurpation of what norms were or how things were structured before. So it seems to be a theme, from the macro to the micro. So microcosmically, we can look at this in terms of the themes for how the Sagittarius full moon might affect us, right? And truth isn't just about telling truths; it's about understanding them for ourselves and what is true about us and what we want to be true, and allowing ourselves to reach for truths. and allowing ourselves to interact with them in really meaningful ways, in really helpful ways for ourselves. What does that look like, right? How do you meaningfully tell truths about things that harmed you? How do you do it in a way that's comfortable for you? Because I know I tried to share truths about nearly being murdered before I was not in a place where I was able to tell it such that I wasn't so deeply enmeshed with it, that it was, being triggered by a bunch of other things. So it took away from my ability and my own sense of safety in telling that story. So it's like, how are we articulating truths for ourselves, and how are they interacting with existing templating? But more than that, it's also about breaking free from existing templating and seeing that as a truth as well. So it's a lot that's been coming through in the past 24 hours as I've kind of just sat with this energy. But if you want a good book, book club, we can read along together. This is one of the books that I'm reading right now. So I'll hold that up. It's kind of shiny, so you get to see my lamp and my little thing there. But yeah, A Secret Life of Secrets. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to dive in here. I would like to invite the angels, my guardian angels, my spirit guides, protectors, teachers, and their healing energy to this space. And I ask that it is a safe and brave space that allows for the fullest expression of our light, humanity, ascension, and healing. Okay. Let us away. Oh, let me move this here. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious as we navigate truths, the landscape of truths, and the topographical subtleties and nuances of them within us? Okay. Earth and water, so home and creation. Very interesting energies here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put them here. I'll show you. So earth and water, which doesn't surprise me because water's been figuring very prominently. I've just been getting a lot of internally, there's like a recognition that the next 10 years in terms of policy and things in the area where I live, kind of nestled in between all the Great Lakes, so southern Ontario, I feel like the Great Lakes are going to become a resource, and water is a right. Water as a right will be one of the predominant environmental concerns going forward, because if water is considered a human right, not just by the UN, but in terms of actual policy in a governmental capacity, it doesn't just honor Indigenous communities, and water is life is one of the I want to say mantras, but that doesn't do justice to how much of a depth that runs into Indigenous belief systems in Canada. But I get the impression that fresh water is going to become not a scarce resource, but one that we understand the preciousness of. And I don't know why, but it's just been so loud lately. And I could just be that I've been meditating near water. But I would be very encouraged and not overly surprised if in the next 2 to 5 years, water was encoded as clean drinking water was encoded as a human right into some kind of charter in Canada, which would certainly present issues because interestingly, it's not a fascination, but First Nation, so Indigenous reserves in Canada do not have potable water. I don't know why they can't hook up the infrastructure. I know that it might be costly, but there are other costs that we incur. So I'm getting this feeling of fresh water being more of a right. I don't know how that's come. I got a lot off of this card, but that's something that's been coming up a lot. And in terms of like truth and secrets, it's almost like one of Canada's like secrets beyond the residential schools and all of that, and the way that it's treated and continues to treat Indigenous communities in Canada. It's just this idea that there's like it's this, I don't know, it's not really a haven as much for specific communities, and it's like being honest with ourselves as a sort of colonial project, like a nation project, that the truths of that for Indigenous communities, and that's where it's like even there's like this way that this is prominent, not just at the individual level. So let's see where else this takes us. North expansion. I get this is more north node though. That feels more accurate to me because of the compass. The artwork is beautiful though. North. home creation and expansion. This could be home creation and expansion. I feel like this could be you sort of developing a sense of home somewhere, or a shift in how you see yourself at home. Like, where are you emplaced, right? Earth and home. Like, we have one home, earth. Like, we don't have, we think of ourselves as emplaced more in cities, but when you think and pull back to the big picture, there's literally just one place that we exist. I mean, aside from dimensionality and things like that, in more 3D terms. So it's like, how are we caring for that, and how are we tending to that? And then if we pull that down to a microcosmic level, we would then see how are we tending to the homes that we construct, both energetically, specifically energetically, but then also in a 3D sense. So there could be some kind of movement here, expansion and north. I feel like this is also another theme of the Sagittarian full moon. So we'll see where everything else takes us, though. This could also be an expanded sense of home within you, feeling at home within your own body, feeling at home in your skin. And because there's a truth that you're recognizing, and I can definitely relate to that. Having, when I came out as trans, I have never felt, it's just, there was so much joy in it. You can't see the smile on my face, but maybe you can hear it. But it was just this deep recognition, not of being okay, 11:11 on the time, not of being just like okay, but like where I am and who I am is beautiful and completely welcome, right? Like it's this calling back. It's like a retrieval. Okay. So, let's see here. Where do you want me to go from here, Spirit? Okay. I'm going to pull from the Osho deck to set the themes for this reading. Spirit, what messages do you have for my collective and my creative unconscious here? Messages for everyone to help us with this truth telling. I'm hearing truth settling. Could be a truth settling. Just where the truth sits in us, right? The reasons why, so this just came through, the reasons why we feel like we can't tell truths, or the things that block us from connecting to others amidst specific truths, are where those are the energy centers that gets locked into, and can cause, like, I'm seeing a flow of, like, it's like restricted in, and then it sort of expands that particular energy center, and then makes it sort of imbalanced all the rest of the way. So that could be something to keep in mind as well. I've certainly experienced that myself, where I needed specific energy centers. I needed to bring them back into balance and to heal them. But that just can be indicative of which ones are impacted. Thank you so much, Spirit. Okay, so what messages here? Going with the flow. So this is the Ace of Cups. I just love the way that this is set up here. Going with the flow. I like the way that they do this deck, and just the interpretations of the traditional tarot are quite lovely. Beyond illusion. Oh, butterflies. Love it. That is the Judgment card, 20. I think you're kind of in an easygoing place, going with the flow, more water energy. What the heck? I feel like I've just become like a translator for water the past like month or so. It could just be like all my progressed Pisces flying right out. I'm not sure, but Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious? No thingness, which is the Hermit, I think. That is, the Hermit. Nope, Hierophant, sorry. Other H. And Exhaustion, 9 of Wands. Let me just clarify that. Okay. That was easy peasy. Slowing down. Yeah, that's... So this is the, I believe, the Knight of Pentacles. I like that it's showing up as a rainbow turtle, though. Slowing down. This is how we care for ourselves. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll use these ones. These little bitty ones. I got this for my birthday this year from BFF Carrie. So thank you if you watch this. Okay. So overarching themes, I'm seeing that there's this, where you are right now is you're recognizing this way that you know 80% of you is water. So you're seeing, or I think 80%, upwards of 80. Oof. My brain, I can do complex things, and it can do so many wonderful things, but holding numbers is difficult for my brain. So going with the flow, I think it's like you're responding to the way that you are water. And I'm hearing something about tides and like maybe the moon. You felt something significant with this moon. I found it's beautiful energy. Oh, given all the Sag and air in my chart, I was like, wee, like, but also like floating, like lazy rivers, like floating, just this sense of floating down the river, and just going with the current, so that you can really see the sights around you and how that feels. Mm-hmm. It's like, so what just went through my head? Okay, so what just went through my mind was like, when I went to Puerto Vallarta a couple, well, this was years ago, but I was kayaking on the ocean, and it like I thought about how like in a pool, there's like a knowable aspect of reality, right? There's a knowable aspect. And when you're in the kayak on the surface of the water, you know that there's the bottom of the ocean somewhere, but you can't see it. And it's like, has anyone reached that depth before? And if they have not reached that depth, does it negate the existence of the depth itself? So you're kind of in this place of floating, and it's not so much complicated questions that you're asking, but these like, there's a depth of awareness that you have that is allowing, or there's like facilitating things to come through for you, that is part of this judgment card where you're moving beyond the illusions of what's possible, not just for yourself in terms of belief, but like there's a way that you're reshaping things, because like butterflies, they turn to absolute mush, like they're liquid in the cocoon, right? And I think it's in the pupa stage, but that's like where they are smush. Like if you were to tap on it or hit it too hard, it would ooze, and I mean it would be the death of that thing. But like it's all liquid. So there's this way it's like it's the way that compost works as well. You're losing one container and then building another, and this could just be the aligning of auric bodies, or yeah, I feel like that's like what's happening, almost like this physical form. And it's not in terms of just like, it's not just in terms of weight or you know, like nutrients, or like I'm thinking about the most 3D, the basic things. How can you transform your body? It's not like that. It's like this energy that's transforming in you, that's then reflecting outwards, but not through your physical form, but through the auric bodies and the way that they are. It's like I'm seeing this like ripple, like a ripple, but also a shimmer, like wind across water, where it looks like there's diamonds across it. And that's kind of what's happening in your auric field right now. And then this no thingness, absolutely. It's like this void that feels like a void, because what has been is not yet fully replaced with something else. And I think that oh, my cat's trying to get through here. Go ahead. Oh, okay, thank you. She's so extra. Sometimes she'll walk and just like stretches on her way across, like, oh, was this your space? So cute. Anyway, but there's like something that hasn't been replaced by the what was. So you may feel like you're in this place of like, where the hell am I? But there's something to be said for both slowing down and allowing whatever feels like an exhaustion, because this is kind of like the breaking down of the old matter within you, and this is the transformation thereof, right? That's the shimmer I just saw too. Huh, interesting. Yeah, the shimmer. I mean, this is also Pride Month, so like hell yeah, rainbows. But I feel like there's something to be said for slowing down, not just pace, but like allowing yourself to just relax. And what does relaxation mean absent of, like, it's not just breathing exercises like this. So for example, I have next week off from work, and like, so starting on the 20th all the way through to the 27th, and I'm super excited because it means that I can just do one thing, because I work part-time, And I'm fortunate for that because it does pay well. It's sufficient anyways. But I'm also super eager for more, right? Like I know that there's a way that that is one aspect of things, but then it's like, man, there's so much more that's expanding that I'm pumped for. So that's cool. That's a great feeling. It's a good place to be in. But I'm excited to have that week. I have cookbooks that I'm going to read, and I'm so excited to be sitting in a hammock. I have a hammock day that I'm planning for myself where I'm turning off my phone and I'm just curling up with a good book, and fiction at that, no nonfiction. Oh, I'm so excited. But with that, I think that's where this like slowing down and exhaustion piece, like, and it's not resonating because it's like the way that I'm seeing it is, what does rest mean for you? Like, what is going to allow you to go from this like almost putrefied, like this liquid energy and into something else? Like, what is going to allow the ripples of energy? And it is like healing energy I'm getting. Like, it's a rippling of healing through your auric centers and bodies. Like, how is that going to come together and give you these wings? Because they are forming. They are forming. Butterflies were never a big thing for me. I went to a town near where my family lives, and they had this art installation on a wall, and I was like, oh my gosh, because it was around the time that I came out, and so that they took on a meaning. But I feel like this is like, it could be, butterflies could have some significance to you. And my squish is coming back. Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Yes, I do. Nope, no one needs to see that side. Yes. Okay. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Oh my gosh. Okay, Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious, please? Six of Wands. No, Seven of Wands. Okay. Seven of Wands. This is the Knight of Cups. And then we also have the Star and Temperance. So Aquarius, Sagittarius energy. There could be an energy or like a spark that you felt not defensive of. I'm thinking more of this being like, instead of advocating for yourself with all of these wands, there's like a spark of truth, something like that is your guiding light now. That is the way that you're progressing forward with something. And I feel like that's 2-2 on the time. And I feel like it's like a light that isn't just, it's the reason why I'm seeing light is like it's shining here, and it's in here as well. But there's something about this release, this surrender. You're just going with the flow, and not in a way that's like, whatever happens, man. And like, it's not this like, I mean, that is still a great way to do things for some people, but it's not in a way that doesn't that absolves you of taking action on things. But I think that it's allowing you to recognize what is coming from your heart, what is coming from your heart space, what is going on there, right? It's like a darkness, but I feel like there's a light that's shining through, right? So that's where I think about this void as being possibly in this heart center. So it could be energies in your heart center that are not necessarily waking up, but that this is part of this like clearing out process that is allowing you to translate the matter of your heart into, whoa, my ears ringing, allowing you to translate the matter of your heart into the meaning in your world, right? Spirit, what other messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective here on this Judgment card? More butterfly. This is the Two of Pentacles, though. It's almost like there's a decision you have to make in terms of recognizing that maybe this is happening. Because I feel like this is kind of an awareness here, this like mental awareness, but it's also like this intuitive awareness that it's happening. And are you going to go easy on yourself, or are you, Abe Hicks has a quote that says, let go or be dragged when it comes to like doing things with the universe. And like, it's just the way that it moves. Like, are you going to float downstream, or are you going to put up a ton of resistance? Right. So, Two of Pentacles, but I feel like this is like the balancing, the balancing act of energies that you've been doing. So Two of Pentacles, King of Swords, clarity. But I also feel like there's wisdom. There's wisdom in the mush, right? There's wisdom in the smush that you might have been in. And I feel like it's like a willingness to recognize that, because that's going to, and not just what is a willingness to recognize that there's wisdom in where you are. What does that mean? It means giving yourself time to feel what you feel and to be in that like no thingness, because the Hierophant is this sort of teaching energy. It's like spiritual, it's institutions, as well as like spiritual knowledge and beliefs and teachings and all of that juicy stuff, right? Two of Cups. Yeah, I think this does have to do a lot with your heart center and some soulmate energy as well. It could be the way that you've loved or been love. Interesting. Loved, or I was going to say the way that you've loved or loved another, but been love is like, that's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, to an extent anyway. This could also just be recognizing the love that you have inside of you to give, because now it's like it's kind of like alighting you inside. And the King of Swords does also represent truth. So it's possibly like the truth of where you are. There's a deep recognition of it, whatever that means for you. Like, I feel like there's this transformation of truth, this beautiful transformation of truth inside of you. It's happening inside of you, and it is allowing so much more to come in, right? Two of Pentacles. It's like this Two of Pentacles is the decision you make internally. And then the clarity with which you move forward on that. And this is also about like owning a truth. You know, the Ace of Swords is like your truth and the recognition of that coming to you. But then this is like what you do with it and how you embody that in the world. And that really does speak to this like sort of adaptability in the butterfly energy here, because it's like that transformation made manifest is you, right? It's taking the energy internally and externalizing it through the, you know, the way that you move your wings, so to speak, and how you're becoming. And it could be calling in soulmate energy. This could be soul family. It could be any number of things. But I do like Two of Cups tends to represent soulmate energy. So in terms of relationships, yeah. Okay. And then we have the Eight of Wands. So this is possibly like a lot of messages coming through, but there's one in particular that is like, and this could be downloads. This could also, I mean, the Eight of Wands can represent travel as well. Quick moving energy. But I feel like there's like some kind of inspiration that's striking, and it can be inspiration for things that you're working on, you know, that call in soul family or that are part of your soulmate journey. It could be moving towards something to do with a soulmate. But it's not the reason for the path, though. That's not the reason for this energy. The Hierophant. Spirit, what messages do you have on this Hierophant energy here? King of Cups. Okay, so... a lot. So it's almost like this is, it's like instead of wearing this void internally or experiencing it, there's like a way that you're wearing it outside of you. So it's like you feel like everyone can see that it's there, but only you're the only one that really knows what's going on internally. So it's almost like this self-consciousness, because the King of Cups can wear their heart on their sleeve, right? That's like that heartfelt and very sensitive and heart-centered energy. So I'm getting the impression here that you are, I'm getting the impression that you're in a place where you're, you may feel like you're wearing this transformation on your sleeve, but I don't think it's as obvious to other people. And this could also be integrating shadow into the heart space too, right? Like in this void, you're kind of meeting with or have met with different aspects of your shadow, and you're integrating them into your heart space, and it's showing up where you might feel like you know, there are shadow parts that are obvious to others. And honestly, like that's a self-consciousness that doesn't, I mean, it may be popping up and it's not something to really be fearful of, because like if you show up for yourself like that and you're okay with seeing those parts of you and the parts of you that are, you know, that seem difficult for other people to understand, and, you know, if they're not coming from a harmful place, It's the nuances that make us us. And if you can show up for yourself in them, it means that you're also calling people to you, be it a soulmate or soulmates if you are, well, I'll say soulmate or soulmates, if you're poly. So it's like, it's this way that you're creating this groundwork for someone to not just see you. And it's like we can say like, I just want someone to understand me. But have you done the work to understand yourself, right? Have you done the work to understand you? And not in a way that's like, this is what I want, but like, are you aware of or willing to know about the things about yourself that have harmed other people in the past, or that the ways that you show up authentically and inauthentically? Like, are you willing to hear those things? Because it's not just about like, these are the habits that I have. Like, I know that I can sometimes, I've mentioned this in other videos, leave like laundry in baskets, right? And it's not like a huge deal, but it's something that annoys me about myself, right? So I know that. So it's like this balance, and it's like if it was to truly bother another person, it would be something that I would just do, right? It's not that important to me to have it be a thing, but like, how willing are you to see these parts of yourself and not run from them or shame them or berate them, right? Because that's going to call in high vibe partnerships and friendships and things like that you might have been thinking were coming from some other source. So it might have just been like a realignment of perspective for you. Okay. Ace of Swords, there's the truth. Yeah, and this is, I feel like that's absolutely true. I think this is really like the integration of shadow, and it's understanding, this is the Ouroboros, and it's like you're creating yourself. You're creating yourself. It's like your eternal self is coming through the truth. But you have to understand that the truth is not the act of creation itself. The truth is what allows you to be engaged in this creative process for yourself and to show up in your creative awakening, right? And creative awakening, spiritual awakening, kind of the same thing for me, but it's also like, what do you do with it then? Like, yes, you wake up, but then how do you put all of that into you in a way that coheres? Yeah. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative collective? The Lovers. Oh, Canadian geese, of course. So this is Gemini and Mercury energy. We're also in Gemini season. We're towards the end of it, but nearing the end of it. I don't know, but this is where I feel like there's a lot of light shining through, but it's not necessarily from the places that you might have assumed would be the case based on the transformation that's taking place. And I think the truth has a lot to do with this, because you're being more honest and open with yourself. You're being more honest and open with yourself, and you're not, the truth is interesting because sometimes we can use it to convince others or to prove that we are a thing or we are not. And so life gives us, so if we're in this proving energy, life gives us more and more situations where we have to prove ourselves, because we seek them out because that's what's most familiar, right? I, was in friendships where I felt like I had to prove that I was not the things that people were saying. So it's like, of course, like if that's the vibration that you're in, that's all that will be available to you. And just if you're in situations where people can get manipulative, or where they are really like, they exhibit, I don't know, just these ways that the what should be support systems, if you're in a specific energy around them, it's not that you will not experience them as support systems. They will just always come with a caveat, right? You won't just be able to be. But then it's also a matter of looking at yourself and saying, have I just been with me? Have I been able to just sit with me? Right? Am I in an energy, 3333 on the time? Am I in an energy that allows me to just sit with me and to be okay when I want to cry and need to cry, right? Without placing, well, I don't feel, there wasn't anything that made me sad. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. No, just feel it. Just feel it. Because sometimes what happens is there are triggers that go off in our energy that we don't recognize until a day or two later, because it's just how energy is flowing in our system. And so we will feel that a couple days later or around about that time. Or there's also something else that would happen for me that I noticed when I was younger, is that seasons, right? So for a few Christmases leading up to Christmas, which is my favorite season of all freaking time. Like, oh my God, it's ridiculous. I love it so much. But it's like my dad, the first Christmas after my dad left was the most heartbreaking, right? So it's like it stopped being all that great. So I would always prefer the lead up to Christmas. And then I understood that Christmas itself, it's not like the lead up to and then like it doesn't meet these wild expectations we have. But it's understanding the seasons when things took place and when they were reminders of different aspects of our existence or things that happened that we might have wanted to push down, because seasonally we can be triggered. And it's almost like an emotional allergy that develops to and in response to these things that happen that when we store energy and traumas in our bodies and we don't fully deal with them. So if you had, for example, like if you had difficult circumstances or like even just two, I don't know for sure why, but anyways, if you had like two breakups that happened around the same season, you might start to have unconscious reactions to that season. And to contextualize it, if you were to say, well, I have to know why I'm sad, not necessarily. It could just be your body processing emotion and trauma from that particular time because you're triggered by a context that you can't fully understand if you're right in the granular details of it. So that's why it's so important just to let things flow, because the logic might come afterwards. The creative potential is sitting in the mush. It's sitting in the pupa. It's sitting in that because you know at a fundamental level that each time that happens, it gives you a different layer of wings, right? So that's really important to hang on to. Spirit, what messages do you have? The Lovers and the Page of Wands, more creation energy. A lot of creation energy, actually. And it's almost like this creative energy it's like this. It's what I love about this is that whatever this creative potential you're in right now, this spark touches, it's bringing life to it, right? The Wands energy do not have anything really growing from them in particular. But when this creative energy of this Ouroboros touches the idea or spark that you feel, and sparks are felt, right? Ideas come to us, but if we process them exclusively through our minds, we miss out on the embodied experience of excitement. We miss out on the embodied experience of passion. So, and even the flip side of that, you miss out on the embodied experience of fear, which helps you to recognize the depths of joy, which helps you to recognize the depths of bliss. And it's making peace with both. I feel like that's a big process here. And there are cards, if we're looking at this in terms of relationships rather than just like unconscious healing, this is also about this is also a lot about getting to a place where you're able to, it's almost like, I just get the impression that there's like not even, there's a non-awareness. Like I feel like there wasn't an awareness that other people were maybe like, it's almost like having, it's like having a cocoon that is translucent. So people can't see all the details, but they can see how your wings are growing. And maybe there's something to that where it's like calling people or situations in. Because of that, because of the way that you wear the transformation. And I've seen this happen with friends. It's so beautiful. It is just stunning to watch them come into their own and to know that there's going to be so many different variations of them coming into their own. It's like, it's so gorgeous. It's one of my favorite things about teaching courses at work as well. Like I just recently did a computer workshop thing for customers, and just the empowerment, seeing this empowerment. And it's such a humbling experience as well, because in that moment, there's just this shared vulnerability that everyone engages in. And it's such a tender place. And it's something that's so precious to me, because when teaching anything, you just see this, I don't know, it's like this tenderness that comes forth where people participate in their own transformation. And it's so beautiful to watch. So it's almost like I'm seeing that. That's what's coming to mind in your process, right? In your process. And knowing too that the way that the person, like this, whoever, if this is you, or like this could be, I don't know, I feel like this might be you. Engaging in this process, it's like, it's not there's no going back scenario. Because I don't think that back exists in the way that it might have before. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Thank you so much, Spirit. What other messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective here? The Empress. Yes. Oh my gosh. This is beautiful. So we show up with this Nine of Wands energy, which is a kind of ending of a cycle energy, as well as the, I believe it's the Knight of Pentacles. If not the Knight, then the Page. But to me, it's forward moving, but slow moving energy. It's steady. Why? Because you needed a root system to develop this tree. You needed a root system that would be thick and dense enough to withstand winds, to withstand storms, right? Like this is fabulous energy to me because it's strong, it's strengthening you. It's strengthening you. The Chariot. I really enjoy the major arcana coming out right in this row because this is like how the light gets in, right? The light gets in through the root system, which is interesting because the light, so root systems communicate with one another not by direct light because they're underground, but it's like they speak through these like electrical sparks, right? These electrical sparks that travel across mycelial networks, and it's like that's what is happening right now. It's like underneath, like under the surface. That's where it's like you can see the shimmer of it, like these ripples in your auric body, but what's actually happening is this depth of transformation. And we know electricity is just another form of fire, and this is Cancerian energy, but this could be you bursting forth in Cancer season, right? Honestly, like, and this could be where, I'm getting this image. So right now I live in a rural area, and I used to drive out to these areas just for the drive. And I remember driving past stables and things like that and just seeing the horses run through the field. And so many times I wondered, like, does it feel as joyous for them as it does for us to behold their freedom or their sense of freedom, right? Knight of Swords. Yeah. It's like this very, I'm getting this like horse energy where you're very much, there's like a freedom. And again, that's like saying, does the animal know all of the things that we're projecting upon it? No, but it's almost like it's a mirror for what we may be wanting to experience and don't realize that we're capable of it every single moment in time, depending on how we're working with wounds and how we're working with energy, right? So animals are just beautiful gifts here. They truly are. So we have Knight of Swords, and then we also have the Seven of Swords. Oh, a little bit of trickster energy here. I'm going to clarify that just because I want to understand more. Whoops. Okay, so that came out. So we have the moon. Okay, so that tells me that there's something going on beneath the surface. This could be you where you don't trust what's happening necessarily. Like there's a way that you're like, sleep with one eye open, right? Like it's like this sense that you don't necessarily trust how transformation is happening. And then we have the Four of Swords and the the Knight of Wands. Yeah, I think it's healing from your experiences of super fast moving energy before. Healing from, oh, sorry, that's the Five of Swords. Ooh, this is really spicy energy. That took on a whole different turn. Yeah, I feel like when I see energy like this, okay, so the Seven of Swords is like external, like this tells me that there's something that you might have been expecting to happen. Seven of Swords is like energy coming towards you in a specific way. This is like, I feel like this is your kind of hidden expectation. And then what's actually happening is the Five of Swords, which is more internal outside facing energy. Like this is the way that you might have felt about yourself. And then the Knight of Wands is, to me, I think, a reminder not to get it twisted. And that's like saying here, let me pull another one because these are intense energies. Spirit, can you clarify whether this is going on inside of the collective or if this is an external facing energy? I don't typically like asking specific questions like that, but I'm seeing a spider's web. The Queen of Pentacles. Okay, I feel like this is more, I think this is the way that you are kind of nurturing yourself now, because this could have been the way that other people, you had encountered them in the past. The Knight of Wands is fast moving energy, and I think that might be why there could be a degree of discomfort with this Eight of Wands, because I felt like there's so many all these messages, but it's like there's one that you're looking for or that you want or that like stands out, but it's like there are so many different messages coming through, but there's just one. And this could be as well like having to kind of navigate the ways that there were a bunch of different messages coming through, but what was the one that you were the most passionate about? What was the one that you wanted the most? Now, this isn't necessarily about like competing for people, but it's just, I mean, for some people it could be, but the way I read it more so is just that this is like you understanding what ideas you want to move forward on despite what's happened in the past, and perhaps maybe not despite, like because of them. Like, what are you going to let be your light? Like, why are you going to shine this light? Right. And I feel like the snake is here, not because of like snaky energy. I'm a snake, for those who know that meme. But the snake energy here is just a reminder of this sort of creation energy more so. Right? It's a creation energy in that infinity loop, the Ouroboros. And I feel like this is just a call to nurture yourself, specifically because I feel like that might be what's depleting you, is trying to figure shit out, right? And figuring out energy is exhausting. It's so exhausting because you're guessing, right? You have intuitive leanings, yes, but there's so much that you don't know yet until it becomes clear, like until it manifests outwardly. So it's like until you have all of the pieces together, you just take in one thing at a time, right? Don't burden your heart, or don't place the burden upon you to where you have to figure everything out at once, because that's also part of like the transformation process of the cocoon and the butterfly, right? That symbolism of transformation for you is not, it's not just like iconographic, like it's something that's deeply meaningful. It's not just symbolic. I feel like there's something very core about this for you. So it's almost like the overview that I'm seeing here is, right now the best thing that you can do for yourself is embody elements that's very interesting. Thank you so much, Spirit. It's like I just heard embodying the elements that resonate the best for you. So for example, for me, air and water have been really big in my energy right now. And so right now it's breezy out. It was a very windy, past 48 hours. So having the window open last night while I was just laying there and listening to the wind blow through the trees, such that it sounded like a grounded ocean, right? Such that it sounded like waves going through the trees, in the same way that the ocean sounded when I went, and even lakes and waves there, like the way that sounds. And for me, the way that those two come together is very peaceful, right? So how is it that you are tending to your rest and to yourself in an energy that resonates with one that feels not just good to you where you are, but one that is helpful to also clear energy from your aura and your system, so that it can be the space that's left behind too, even though different storyline interpretation for this, but building into it. Oh, my ears are ringing again. I feel like there's a truth in what is the space that you might confuse for a void after there's a clearing process that takes place. And that's where this expansion can take place, right? Because people might think of the sky as a void, right? In some philosophical sense. But on nights where there's stars that are super clear, it is anything but a void, right? On the nights where you could see, if you go further north, I mean, I'm in southern Ontario, so like near Toronto, so it's like you can't really see the northern lights around here because of the light pollution. But if you go like 2 hours north, even 3 hours north, they can be visible at times. Depending on how significant solar flares are. I think that's what causes them. My brain is not, anyways. So it's like the absence of something in the sky that is your soul, that is your heart space, does not mean that there is nothing truly there. It's not a void. It's just you're waiting to see the stars. But I think it's just appreciating where you are as well is really important. Because that's the tree roots that are going to allow this beautiful communication through I'm seeing this, I'm seeing like an offshoot, and it's like a sense of like a webbed sense of time. where it's like the currents are rippling through and around, and you're feeling the timelines shift, you're feeling your energy shift, but it's doing so in a way that that may not feel the most clear at first blush. So we're going to end this reading with notes from the universe. Actually, I'll pull from the chakra deck just to see how this aligns to our internal energy system. So Spirit, can you please clarify this for me? I feel like there's like, I'm getting a lot of sacral energy, but also like the way that it's like the fingertips of this transformation are in the solar plexus. The fingertips of the transformation are the solar plexus, and the voice is your third eye and crown. Interesting. Sensuality. Yeah. So sacral chakra. Sensuality and pleasure are my birthright, to be experienced with blissful joy. I honor and embrace my sexuality, recognizing the sacred sexual connection with myself and the intimate partner of my choice, or partners. It is safe for me to be sensual and sexual and be respected for this. Pleasure and enjoyment are good, clean, and healthy. I experience pleasure. Yeah, so I think it's like allowing, maybe sensuality is where you're going to see part of this transformation take place. Like, is like, are you allowing yourself the most basic of pleasures in the everyday? Because that can be where energy gets blocked. Like, what do you allow yourself to enjoy? Not just in like an embodied or bodily sense or sexual sense, but like, what are you allowing yourself to fully enjoy? And unashamedly, unabashedly so. Like, are you enjoying sinking into a book or a cup of coffee or a cup of tea? Or, what is it that you're allowing yourself to enjoy with reckless abandon in the present moment, right? That is just that brings you so totally where you are that it overtakes you with the sensory experience of it. Because that can be a way that we go into, that we can, allow ourselves to enter into this 4D, 5D state. Knowing. Crown chakra. Knowing. For the greatest good of all, I trust my knowledge and wisdom and the higher knowledge and wisdom available to me. I am an aspect of universal consciousness. I know myself to be part of the whole. I now grow beyond my previous experiences. I am wise. Yeah, I feel like that sensuality, it may seem really counterintuitive, but sensuality and allowing yourself to enjoy and just to feel pleasure might be something that seems like an odd way of knowing, but I think it's almost like a language that is speaking to you right now. It could be that it's like, because this energy of going with the flow is a deeply embodied one. It is a sensual one, honestly. You can't be on a lazy river and be disconnected from where you are. Like, I mean, you can do that anywhere, but it's like, it's one that invites you to do nothing but be in the present moment, right? Because you can't bring your phone necessarily into the water. You can if you want to. People do it all the time, but like, you have to be exactly where you are. And it's those types of things that sink you into this capacity to experience joy. And I find, in the way I see it, is like joy and pleasure are they're so connected, because your joy, it's like, I don't know, one unlocks the other. So let's pull one more. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative collective for this unconscious reading? Trust. Trust. Oh my gosh, truth. Throat chakra. It is safe for me to align with and express my higher truth, wisdom, and knowing. This could also be, because we're talking about truths, right? That's the overarching theme here. I allow others to hold a different perspective to me and know that there is enough space in the universe for all of our truths, including my own. I am honest with myself and hear the resonance of truth in my words. I express my truth. And that's also something that joy and pleasure can unlock for us, is access to our truth. Because if we don't trust ourselves to experience or allow joy, if we don't trust ourselves to bring that most tender, vulnerable part of ourselves forward, how on earth are we going to experience? How can we trust that we will speak truth or understand truth, where it goes from like the relationship between truth and knowing, right? There's something about this sensuality, pleasure, and joy unlocking one and the other. So you might not know now, but you will. Very much a one step at a time, like I had said before in this process. Like, there's stuff that is unfolding that you may not have all the answers to right now, but having the answers isn't as important as, I think, being in the moment and understanding how to work your own energy to unlock them, right? To unlock them for you. Spirit, what messages do you have for my creative unconscious collective, please? There isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval. The only difference between a friend and a foe is that you've decided where love can grow. And I feel like this is sort of a call to realign our perspective, right? Are we assigning things meaning in one specific way that is very fixed, or are we flexible, right? This is not an energy of, this is not happening in a container. This is a flow, right? And I'm going to pull one from the Life Loves You deck by Louise Hay and Robert Holden. Spirit, what final message do you have for my creative unconscious collective here? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I practice loving kindness toward everyone, including myself. Are you as kind to yourself as you are to others? Finish this thought. One way I could be kinder to myself is... And maybe that's just this sensuality and this joy. One way that you can be kinder to yourself, right? One way that you can. And I feel like it's like this domino effect. Like I'm seeing things just, right? Allowing, like what is one thing that you can do that is kinder to yourself in the truths that you hold, or towards or about the truths that you hold within you, that you've carried in your body, that you might feel at a depth in your body. Right? How are you being kind to yourself through all of that? And 5555 on the time right now. So I'm going to leave it here, my darlings. This is your creative unconscious reading. If this resonated, please give it a like and subscribe. And for those who are here already, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. It means so much to me. And I know I've been growing a bit more, so I appreciate that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. There are other ways you can connect with me on the channel, so check that out. But if this is where we part, my darling creative collective, I hope that wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, it finds you very, very well. Take care, my darlings.